Namaste, I'm Sakshin, and welcome to one more of these videos in the series of sacred words that we from Akasha Retreat Center are presenting to you. In the presentation of today, I would like to speak precisely about the word Akasha, the word that gives name to Akasha Retreat Center actually. So what is this word, Akasha? Akasha is a Sanskrit word that can vaguely be translated as ether or space. And to fully understand all the implications of this concept, we need to understand a little bit about the theory of the 5 elements in Samkhya philosophy. The Samkhya philosophy, for those of you who don't know, is the Vedic philosophy that explains the metaphysical structure of the universe as it is understood by other disciplines, other Vedic disciplines like yoga and Ayurveda. So in this vision of the world, in this cosmology, it is said that there are 5 elements or Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5, so to say, metaphysical bricks out of which the whole universe as we perceive it is made. And these 5 elements are exactly Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apas and Prithvi. So Akasha, ether or space, Vayu, air or movement, wind, Agni, fire, Apas, water, and Prithvi, earth. So how this is structured, the idea is that each element in this sequence goes from the most subtle to the most dense. And each element contains the previous elements within. It means that Akasha is the most subtle of all elements, and it is contained in all other elements after it. So what does it mean, space or ether? Basically it means that for any form of existence, for any form of particular existence of differentiated matter, there needs to be a space where this matter dwells. So basically the first element is the condition for any other element to exist. So it is the empty space that contains all things. Basically that is the definition of Akasha, the all-pervading space where everything exists, the first and foremost element. And as I said, it is contained in all other elements. If we think of it in a macro perspective, it is all of the space in the whole macrocosm. It is the space of the universe. It is the space that any form, any body occupies. And if we look at it inside, in the microcosm that is a body, it is the space that this body is occupying in the wider space, but it is also all the inner spaces where things exist within the body. From the hollow inner spaces inside the veins where blood can run, to all the pipes and different receptacles for the tissues and the organs. Everything is contained in spaces and creates spaces within for things to move and happen. So basically it's the most subtle and most important in that sense of all elements. It's the precondition for any other element to exist and for any form of manifested reality to exist. Another interesting feature about this, as it's explained in Samkhya philosophy, is that each of these 5 elements correlate to one of the 5 tanmatras, which are like the metaphysical rhythms of the universe. So the tanmatra which is associated to Akasha is called Shabda, which means sound. It's the tanmatra of sound, is the existence of sound, which in other words means that as it's been said, even in Western traditions, when we say that first was the Logos, that sound is in the same way that space is the precondition and the first and foremost element for all other elements to exist before it, sound is the first dimension of reality. The reality is first and foremost an expansion, a vibration of sound that then gets more specific, more concrete, slowly, into the other tanmatras which are related to the other elements. Thus creating touch, vision, shape, and smell and taste. So in that way, Akasha, this all-pervading space, is related to the sense of hearing, to sound of course, to the sense of hearing, and as an organ of action to the capacity of speaking or uttering sound, singing also for that matter. So this brings us a very interesting insight as to why sound is so important for any spiritual tradition in the world. Because if Akasha is the field of sound, Akasha and sound are completely interlinked, then this most subtle realm of empty space and this most subtle metaphysical rhythm, which is sound, they are contained in all other elements. So they are the most subtle and all-encompassing form of reality. And also, as I said, the most subtle, so the closest to that which is beyond the manifested universe. The closest to that which is unmanifested, which is subtlest, which is invisible. So, in other words, the closest to the divine, the closest to what we could call God or the supreme reality. That is why, as I said, sound has such a predominant use in all the spiritual traditions in the world, from ancient Christianity in the way, for example, churches and cathedrals were built to create such amazing acoustics and these uplifting sounds that will connect us with God. Gregorian chant, shamanic sounds from different traditions of the world, and of course the huge importance of the role of sound in Indian spiritual traditions. And I would like to end this video by commenting on the word itself, Akasha. One very interesting thing is that it's a word that only has the vowel A, Akasha. And the vowel A in Sanskrit and in any other language that I know for that matter is always the first vowel. Why is it the first vowel? Because even in sound there are layers and layers of more specific, more concrete and more subtle. So A is the most abstract and subtle of all sounds. It's even the seed of Om, as many of you should know, is Om is composed by A, U and M. So Aum, Om. So the A is like the seed of all sounds. It's the first sound any human can utter. It's just a pure guttural sound. A, A. So the fact that Akasha is made only of A's is showing this, no? In the sound itself, it's showing the predominance of this subtle reality that is underneath and all-pervading, underneath all this movement of more dense forms of reality. So I wish you all a wonderful experience of reality by tuning more and more into the existence of Akasha as that which remains underneath all the movement, all the impermanence of these shapes, where bodies are born and die, relationships change constantly. In this world of constant movement, there is something which is a form of oneness, which is always there, empty, shapeless, just holding the space for all this drama, all this theater that we perceive in our daily lives to happen. So when we tune into that spaciousness that dwells within and without us, we can connect with the equanimity of the self, which is always still and quiet while all this crazy movement is happening inside and outside of us. So, as I said, may we all tune into this spacious perception of reality. Om Namah Shivaya.